When the pups woke up that morning, they raced to get dressed and hurried through their breakfast as fast as they could. The reason they were in a hurry was that the absolute biggest snowfall in all of pup history had fallen during the night. They were in the middle of dressing to go out when I stopped them. I told them that first, the driveway needed to be cleared. If there was an emergency, I had to be able to get out. Now, the pups knew I was right, but as they looked out on the snow, it seemed to look different to them. Instead of looking like fun, it started to look like a lot of work. I felt bad telling them, but after all, rescuing was our responsibility, and responsibility came first. The pups finished dressing. Billy told them that the sooner they were finished, the sooner they'd be playing in the snow. The others agreed. Strangely, Farah slowed right down and seemed to have a great deal of trouble putting on her earmuffs. She didn't really feel like shoveling. As the others hurried outside, I noticed that Farah took a long time to find her scarf that was right in front of her, hanging on a hook. The others were digging and calling to each other to hurry, and Farah looked out the window to see how they were doing. She was hoping if she took long enough, the work would be done. She sighed and picked up her shovel. Outside, she dragged her shovel slowly across the yard. As the other three pups threw their last shovel full of snow, they saw Farah finally walking to the driveway. I don't have to tell you that they were not too happy to have done all the work without her help. When Farah saw they were finished, she was happy. Billy shouted that they should fetch their toboggans and get to the hill, and in a flurry of snow, they raced inside. Farah raced with them, and soon they were at the hills. As the pups got ready to slide, Farah asked each one if they wanted to go down the hill with her. But nobody did. Farah looked at her toboggan. She decided tobogganing wasn't much fun without friends, so she hurried home. When she arrived, Farah came straight over to me. She told me that the other pups were not being very nice to her. They wouldn't toboggan with her and left her out of their fun. Farah sniffed and a little tear trickled down her cheek. I pointed out that perhaps they were a bit annoyed with her for not helping with clearing the driveway. Farah looked at me in surprise. She had wanted to help, but when she got out there, the driveway was finished. I asked what took her so long, and she told me she had to put her earmuffs on and find her scarf and put it on. And I told her that the other pups had to put on the same winter clothes, and they were out much sooner. I suggested that maybe she took a long time so she wouldn't have to do as much work. Farah looked at me. Then she nodded her head. Farah hadn't meant to make her friends angry, but she had to agree that if they had done that to her, she'd feel a little angry too. Farah kicked the snow with her feet. It didn't feel very nice to have the pups angry with her, and she wanted to go and tell them to stop now. But I had a better idea. I explained that angry is something you feel, and that you just can't stop it. I told her that she could show the pups she was sorry by making it up to them. Farah wasn't sure that she knew what I meant, but I whispered in her ear, and a huge smile flashed across her face. Later, when the pups came home, she was all ready for them. When they opened the kitchen door, the yummy smell of hot chocolate greeted them. Farah made enough for everybody. 3 steaming cups sat on the kitchen table. Smudge hurried in, but then stopped. They needed to put their toboggans away first. Farah held up her hand to stop them. She would put the toboggans away for them, to make up for taking so long. The 3 pups smiled and found a place at the table where they could enjoy their hot drinks. And when Farah came back in from putting away the toboggans, the pups thanked her. She knew she'd been forgiven. They all talked about tobogganing again, but at that moment the alarm rang. It was the twin bunnies, Snowdrop and Powder Puff. It seemed that they had gone out in the snow and got lost. We were very concerned because Snowdrop and Powder Puff were the same color as the snow. and if they were lost in the snow, we might have a hard time finding them. We drove slowly along the field where they'd last been seen. We didn't think there was any sign of them, but then Tanker saw 2 bumps in the snow. They weren't very far apart and certainly were in the shape of bunnies. They waded through the snow to see what the 2 bumps were. Dilly looked at them and shook her head. They were 2 snow bunny statues, but they certainly weren't Snowdrop and Powder Puff. Suddenly, one of the statues moved, and Dilly was so frightened she jumped right into Smudge's arms. The statue shook, and soon all the snow was off, and we could all see that the statue was Snowdrop. Then the next statue shook, and it was Powder Puff. Everybody laughed, and Dilly laughed the hardest. The bunnies had given her a good scare. Powder Puff explained that they had been walking through the snow. She was leading the way, making the path, and doing all the hard work. When Powder Puff got tired and stopped, Snowdrop would not take over making the path. Powder Puff was tired of doing all the hard work herself and said Snowdrop should take a turn. They had both just stood there arguing until snow covered them so much they couldn't even find each other. The bunnies agreed that they had been silly about not doing their share and thanked the pups for finding them. We took them home, and on the way they agreed that the next time they would take turns in making the path. Every bunny needs to do their share, and I know that you'll do your share too. And when you do, your friends will really appreciate it.